July 1st, 2002, in the middle of the night. A Russian plane was taking exceptional teenagers from school for a fun vacation to Spain. But something scary was coming their way. In June 2002, UNESCO picked up 46 kids who were super smart, sporty, or good at artsy stuff from Ufa, a place in Russia. Some kids were good at different things. They were picked to go on a cool 2-week trip near Barcelona in Spain. 46 of them, with a few teachers, took a train from Ufa to Moscow. They were supposed to catch a flight to Barcelona there. Till here everything was okay, but when they reached Moscow, the people in charge made a mistake and took the kids to the wrong airport. So they missed their flight there. While the management was fixing the issue, kids meanwhile explored the city. After waiting for 2 days, they finally got another plane to go to Barcelona on July 1st, 2002. A mother and 2 kids, Kaloyevs, who weren't with the school group, were also a part of this journey. They were going to meet their dad, who's an architect finishing a project near Barcelona. 5 Russians were flying this plane. The main pilot, Captain Alexander Gross, had been flying planes for more than 30 years. Today's co-pilot was Oleg Grigoriev, who was the airline's top pilot. Right before 11 at night, Bashkirian Airlines Flight 2937 left Moscow. This plane, just like any modern plane, had a special system called TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System. TCAS helps planes not crash into each other by sending signals between them. It checks if they're getting too close and tells the pilots what to do to stay safe. In Bergamo, Italy, a Boeing 757 prepares for its journey. It belongs to DHL, a worldwide freight company, and is en route to their base in Brussels, Belgium. The path of this Boeing will intersect with the Russian Tupolev over southern Germany. This Boeing aircraft carries only 2 people, Captain Paul Phillips, a British national, and First Officer Brent Campioni, a Canadian. At 6 minutes past 11, the DHL aircraft takes off for a historical journey in the world of aviation. Responsible for managing this airspace is the air navigation service provider, SkyGuide. Headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, SkyGuide boasts extensive radar coverage overseeing planes in their cruising phase. SkyGuide doesn't handle individual airport coverage. Their collaboration involves coordinating with airports and control towers via telephone. At SkyGuide Area Control Center in Zurich, Switzerland, Peter Nielsen, an experienced controller with 8 years of service, was managing air traffic in southern Germany and northern Switzerland that night. Despite the light traffic in their sector, Nielsen's colleague opts for a lengthy break, a typical practice at SkyGuide. Nielsen now handles all air traffic using 2 radar screens positioned a few feet apart. Around 11:10, 2 technicians arrive and inform Nielsen of authorized maintenance on the main radar by SkyGuide management. Consequently, the screens will function slower and won't provide a visual warning if planes get too close. The technicians also notify Nielsen of a necessary shutdown of the telephone system, forcing a switch to standby phones. They didn't know they were setting the stage for an unforgettable disaster. As the Russian plane carrying school children heads toward Switzerland over central Germany, Captain Grigoriev secures clearance from the final German control center before entering Swiss airspace. Simultaneously, the DHL plane ascends north over the Alps, crossing into Swiss territory. At Zurich radar, the DHL reaches flight level 36,000 feet, sharing the same altitude as the Russian plane, initiating a collision course. But at this point, they were far, far away from each other. Meanwhile, Nielsen received a new flight strip for an Airbus Aero Lloyd Flight 1135 bound for Friedrichshafen Airport. This significantly increases his workload, requiring him to switch between screens rapidly in the next 5 minutes. Nielsen tried multiple times to divert the Aeroloid flight to Friedrichshafen's control tower, but due to dead phone lines, he was helpless. Meanwhile, another plane requires his attention, a Thai Airways flight heading north. However, Nielsen faces a challenge as his equipment malfunctions. Tonight, controlling 2 screens becomes increasingly challenging. Typically, his radar would warn of an imminent collision, but tonight, it's dysfunctional. For the first time, the Russian pilots noticed the DHL plane on their TCAS screen. Worried, they react, traffic, TCAS. The collision avoidance system alerts them about the dangerous proximity of the other plane. At that precise moment, the TCAS in the DHL cockpit detects the presence of the Russian plane. Descend. Peter Nielsen finally grasps the severity of the situation. Despite the TCAS alarming the Russian plane to ascend, Nielsen asks them to descend, and Captain Gross immediately takes manual control and initiates a descent.
Adjust vertical speed. Adjust. Climb now.
TCAS prompts them to ascend. The controller's instruction is to descend. Nielsen believes he's preventing a collision by ordering the Russian plane to descend. Here he didn't know that the DHL pilots also received a TCAS directive to descend and increase altitude by 600.
Descend, 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 crossing, descend.
They attempt to convey this to Nielsen, but he is unable to hear them. If both planes adhered to TCAS, disaster could have been averted. However, the Russian crew follows the controller's orders instead of climbing. Consequently, both aircraft plummet towards each other. The DHL's tail collides with the Tupolev's underbelly, tearing it apart. The pilots lose consciousness right away. Struggling on for an additional 2 minutes, the DHL eventually crashes 4 miles away. The wreckage of both planes scatters outside Überlingen, at the German-Swiss border, covering an area of 130 square miles. It marks the worst mid-air collision in German post-war history. It turned into a really sad plane crash. How could 2 planes crash in a place where everything's supposed to be super safe? Was it because something was broken or someone made a mistake? Over a 6-day search, rescue workers collect scattered body parts across the southern German countryside. Peter Nielsen never returned to an air traffic workstation. He also required urgent psychiatric help because he agreed to the fact that he alone was responsible for these deaths. May 2004, the German BFU investigators took 22 months to release their final report. They pinpointed 2 primary causes of the disaster. Firstly, Nielsen's delayed recognition of the collision risk. Secondly, the Russian crew's error in obeying Nielsen's descent instruction instead of their own TCAS command to climb. The report sharply criticized Skyguide for assigning a lone controller on duty that fateful night. On 24 February 2004, Peter Nielsen was killed in front of his kids and wife, and the suspect was the father of that family who died in the crash.